Today I'm going to compare two popular European investment platforms, Trading212 and Interactive Brokers. I've used both of them for years now, and I'll break down their features, costs, ease of use, and just how are they different when it comes to investing. By the end, you'll know exactly which broker is right for you. Hello finance people, I'm Robert, and on this channel I talk about investing and personal finance from a European perspective. Let's start with ease of use. Trading212 is hands down one of the easiest investment platforms I've ever used. It's perfect for beginners because it has clear interface, helpful tooltips, and straightforward sign-up process. Even if you've never invested before, you'll quickly get a feel and feel comfortable navigating around it. Especially if you watch my 30-minute tutorial first, you can click there. Interactive Brokers, on the other hand, is much more complex, especially if you're just starting out. The interface feels outdated and can be quite overwhelming initially, so it definitely has a steeper learning curve, but offers more robust capabilities once you get used to it. That said, keep in mind that Interactive Brokers has multiple different platforms. For example, there is 2 different platforms just for mobile. The Global Trader is much easier to use and it's cleaner, and it just looks more on par with Trading212. And then there's the other mobile platform that is a little bit more traditional. But you see, it's already starting to get confusing even though you haven't even started with. Why is there 4 platforms? They serve different people. There's a professional one, there's the sort of a consumer facing or beginner friendly. They just have everything for everybody, but it's not always so clear. But in any case, when it comes to ease of use, Trading212 is a clear winner. So I'm going to give it the point for that. And then at the end, we're just going to count the points and see which platform is actually better. Next, let's compare the investment options each of the platforms has. So what can you actually buy? Trading212 offers stocks, ETFs, fractional shares, and a clear separation between real assets and CFDs. So for most investors, this is more than enough. Now, Trading212 also has crypto, but they are CFDs, which means contract for difference. And it's basically you making a contract with the broker and not actually buying the real asset. So honestly, if you want to buy crypto, just use one of the crypto exchanges. It's much more cheaper that way. Then if we look at Interactive Brokers, it provides extensive investment options, including stocks, ETFs, options, futures, bonds, Forex, and CFDs. For some of these though, you will need to qualify to actually start investing in them. So it's just a few questions that you need to answer. They kind of check that you have the experience to actually trade these assets. And well, I guess the benefit of having so many different platforms is that you have the professional level tools, so you can trade and research in any type of an asset. So if you require advanced tools or advanced asset types, then Interactive Brokers is your choice. This means I have to give this point to Interactive Brokers just because they have more stuff that you can actually buy. Next, let's take a look at the important part of when deciding what broker to go with is the fees. Trading212 advertises its commission-free trading for stocks and ETFs if it's in your currency, but is it really actually true? For once, it's not false advertising and it's actually free. Now, if you need to convert your currency, you have a fee of 0.15%, but be aware if you buy a CFD, then there are spread fees and overnight fees and so on. Luckily, Trading212 has 2 different platforms, one with real assets, that's called Invest, and one with CFDs, so you won't buy a CFD by accident. If we look at Interactive Brokers, it also has extremely low fees. Usually when I buy with about 1,000 euros worth of ETFs from European exchange, it costs about €1.25, which is very competitive if you compare it to other brokers. Now, IB has a little bit more complicated how they structure their fees. My advice is that you just select the tiered pricing in the settings. That way it's going to be better for most of the investors. This means since Trading212 has 0 fees, it is excellent if you're starting with investing with small amounts. So this one goes for Trading212, so point for them. And hey, if you're a beginner to investing and want to get started with long-term investing without feeling totally overwhelmed, check out my Investing Fast Track workshop. It's specifically designed for people living in Europe, and we will cover things like strategies and brokers and talk a bit about taxes. The link will be in the description. Okay, next, let me compare some of the key features these platforms have. And starting with Trading212, you basically have all the features you need as a long-term investor. The important ones being fractional shares, so you can buy small parts of a share like 0.1 or 0.345 shares instead of buying one whole share. This comes in handy if the price of an asset is super high, like in thousands. That way you can buy this asset or a part of it even though you can't afford the whole share. Then it's important that your platform offers recurring investments. This means the platform will invest for you automatically on regular schedule. So usually that's once a month. Trust me, it's an essential feature for long-term investing, so you better have it, and Trading212 does have it, so yeah, that kind of covers it. Although you can only do it by using pies. I'm going to talk about pies a little bit later. It's a feature that Trading212 has. It's also nice to know that if you want to get out of Trading212, then you can transfer your asset to another broker. So instead of just selling the asset, taking the money, putting it in the new broker, you can just transfer the asset. And this is, by the way, much better from tax perspective as well, because usually in Europe you get taxed when you take out profits, and since you're just transferring the asset, there's no profit there, so it's much better to do it this way. And then if you use Trading212 CFD part, you are able to short sell, so you invest and expect the price of the asset to go down, then you make money. Also, you can leverage your position, which basically means you can loan extra money from the broker to have more money to invest. This means you make more money when you are, when you're correct in your assumptions, but you also lose a lot more when you are wrong. And lots of people ask me this. No, you cannot lose more than you invested. So you cannot go into minus. You cannot own money to the broker. So you can only lose what you invested. CFDs also enable you to buy commodities like oil, coffee, or gold. But please be aware that CFDs are really risky. Even Trading212's website, there is a warning that most people lose money with CFDs. If you're new, I would start with real assets first, get familiar, and only then consider CFDs once you feel a bit more comfortable. So if you compare these features to Interactive Brokers, well, it also has fractional shares, asset transfer to another broker, and recurring investments. So they're kind of on par there. On top of that, IB has advanced analytics and extensive research capabilities. And just in general, it has all the professional grade tools and features, even for experienced investors and day traders. So because of those separate platforms, you can find something for you. So when it comes to features, I have to give the point to Interactive Brokers. They just have way more features that you might need as an investor. Although they are both great for people that are just considering to long-term invest. Next, I want to cover something really important, and that's the protections you have as an investor. So if something happens to your broker, like they go bankrupt, what's going to happen? So starting with Trading212, which is registered in Cyprus, you get standard protection of 20,000 euros for EU users and 85,000 pounds for UK, for people in the UK. And why is it different for UK? Just because it's also registered in the UK, so that's the difference. So this protection comes from the investor protection scheme, which basically covers you up to 20,000 in case the broker goes bankrupt, and your money is kept in a segregated account, which just means your money doesn't go to Trading212's bank accounts, but instead to a third-party bank like JP Morgan or Barclays. And this is for all the brokers, respectable brokers, they do this. And this kind of a setup is just so that the Trading212 employees, like, CEO, can't just withdraw all the money and disappear somewhere in a paradise, and then you would lose all your money, or all the investors would lose their money. This way, the employees cannot just withdraw money from clients' money. On the other hand, Interactive Brokers have similar protections, so it offers basic protection of 20,000 euros for EU assets, and it's regulated in Ireland. So basically you get same protections as Trading212, but IB is a publicly traded company in the US, and that means you can dig deep into their financials and see how they're doing and if they are in any type of financial trouble, because you do want to kind of know if there's any issues. And by the way, it's not like investors who hold more than 20,000 in these brokers will lose everything over that amount if something happens. This is not the case because of asset segregation. It should protect your money and assets in the event of bankruptcy. The investor protection scheme only comes into play in the case that the broker is found to have failed to protect client assets, or in the case of fraud or on the behalf of broker. So really rare cases of a big neglect or something. Now for me, when it comes to protection, this is a tie. They both offer 20,000 euros, but some competitors like Trade Republic has a 100,000 euro protection because it's registered as a bank. So I would say this one is a tie and neither of them get points. So if I just count the points together, we have a tie right now, 2 and 2. So they are really equal platforms. That's why I'm going to tell you a few unique features for both of these brokers. So Trading212 has a unique feature called pies, and think of pies just like a basket where you can put different type of assets. So let's say you can put a bit of stocks, you can put a bit of ETFs, and you can put a bit of crypto there, and they just live there together. You can control them, you can change the percentage invested in each. So it is a nice way to have your sort of portfolios organized, I would say so. And pies also come into play when you want to auto invest your investments. That way every month or every 2 weeks it will automatically reinvest money into the pie. Trading212 also has high interest rates on cash. Right now it's 2.4%, but a year ago it was more than 4% on euros. For you people in the UK, they also have ISA accounts, which has huge tax advantages. Then if we take a look at Interactive Brokers, they are very large and almost everywhere in the world. So if you are planning to move, there's a good chance they are there as well already. And most importantly, Interactive Brokers is so well established that actually Trading212 runs on top of Interactive Brokers infrastructure. So when you use them as in being Trading212, essentially the trade is executed via Interactive Brokers and the assets are stored with Interactive Brokers. So basically it's just a nice layer built on top of Interactive Brokers. So Trading212 has the nice app and everything, but everything when it comes to the investing and trading, it actually happens within Interactive Brokers. You don't see this. This happens all automatically, but this is how established they are. So what is my recommendation? Interactive Brokers or Trading212? Well, if you're a beginner or prefer an easy to use platform with no commissions, fractional shares and automation, Trading212 is an excellent choice for you, especially if you're starting with small amounts. Not having fees just helps with that. However, if you want a well-established and robust platform and the reassurance that millions of people around the world use the same tool and also comes with all the features that you will ever need, then Interactive Brokers is your choice. At the end of the day, both brokers are great and you can't go wrong by choosing one or the other. It's more important that you start now than take another 2 months to decide. Nothing stops you from using both of these platforms for different type of assets. Now you learn about Trading212 and Interactive Brokers, but without the right long-term investment strategy, it's going to be hard to stay disciplined and you might lose money. That's why you should watch this video next, where I'll reveal the only investment strategy you will ever need for long-term investing.